What's up, everyone? All right, well, this is this is my least favorite part about being a trader is having red days. My least favorite part about trading in front of thousands of people every single day is having to do red day recaps, and today is the worst of the worst. This is going to actually be the worst red day that I've had in probably 5 years. Well, I don't even remember what year it was that I had my all-time worst trade, but I basically topped that today. So I would pretty much round up and say today's the worst day of my trading career. It's actually second worst, but they're pretty much tied. And this month has been a disaster for me. It started by losing 9 grand on the first day of the month. Made it back, made it all back, got myself up like 15 grand on the month, and then lost 7 grand. Another big red day, made it back, and then boom, today, down almost $30,000. This month, like I said, it's been a disaster. I've let FOMO get the best of me. I've been way too aggressive in the wrong places. I've been stepping up, swinging for the fences on almost every single trade I've been taking. I think for me right now, my emotions are running really high because I'm coming to the very end of this $583 to $1 million challenge. It was about 2 years and 3 months ago that I started my small account with $583. I mean, it was ridiculous. $583.15. And as of this morning, before my $30,000 loss, I was at like $992,000. So I knew I was just getting so close to that finish line. I just want to, cross it. And I've been mindful or aware of the fact that I've been trading very aggressively this month. Of course, starting with such a big red day and continuing with a couple of really close calls, but I haven't been able to fully get a handle on it. I'm aware that I'm doing it, but I keep doing it, and that's like the most frustrating thing. And it's something that a lot of you guys who are traders can relate to, is just that frustration of trying to break a bad habit, that you start getting more and more aggressive. And of course, the market is so frustrating in the sense that sometimes you get positive reinforcement for negative behavior. You do the wrong thing, but you make money on it. You hold something too long, but it comes back up, and hey, you didn't take a loss. Or you chase something and it keeps going higher and you get away with chasing something. But the market always corrects you, and I keep getting these big corrections, and today's, it's a big hit, no doubt about it. And my instinct is just like to just step back and, kind of just, step back a little bit and kind of think about, what did I do wrong? We're going to talk about during the recap, and what's the plan moving forward. And if you have a red day and you're watching this, it's going to help you a lot. If you watch this 6 months from now, a year from now, after a big red day, this will help you, just kind of get the sense of what do other traders do when they have big red days, because you're not alone. It happens to all of us. It's impossible to avoid red days. It's like being a boxer trying to never get hit in the face. It will not happen. You will have red days. You will have losses that get away from you. That's part of the deal. It's a hard part of this career. It's one of the hardest parts. If you can deal with that, you can be really successful. So I'm someone, at the end of this challenge, I'll probably have made about, maybe $1.5, $1.6 million, and then had $600,000 in losers, which gives me a net profit of $1 million. And I guess that's the question for you. Would you be okay with a net profit of $1 million, knowing you made 1.6 million and then lost 600 grand over the course of, a few really, really bad days, maybe 100 really bad days, or whatever it is. So, that's the challenge. But anyways, we'll break it down in the recap as usual. Give me a thumbs up for doing the red day recaps. This is the hard part of, being a trader, especially being on YouTube and doing this for all you guys. So I hope it helps you. Give me a thumbs up for it. Questions, comments, leave them below. You want to give me, some smack talk and tell me I'm a crappy trader, that's fine. Today I was not on my game. All right, everyone. So today is a red day recap. So disappointing. This has been quite a month, no doubt about it. Started with the worst red day of the entire year, got it back, then lost money last Wednesday, made it back, and now I'm down here this Wednesday. How did it happen? Well, I was actually up about $2,500 as of 10 a.m. I had a terrific start to the day here, but ESTR, this one got me good. And we'll talk about, this specific trade, when we kind of break it down. But I'm having one of those days where these are the peaks and the valleys of being a trader, and the ups and the downs on this journey to try to make $1 million with a $583 account. You don't turn $583 into $1 million without taking risk, and today's going to be the biggest red day of the entire challenge, because not only am I red by 10 grand here in my main account, I'm also down 18 grand in my IRA. So I'm down $29,000 today, making it my second worst day of all time. To gain a little perspective of other things I could have done with $30,000, I could have bought 2010 Corvette. Could have bought a 1971 Chevrolet pickup truck, 1973 Chevy Camaro. Well, that's a Chrysler 300. Ford Mustang. That's a nice one. This is down in Florida. Is that dark green? Yeah, it sure is. Dark green. That's a pretty looking car. Well, I could have bought that today. Could have got a Ford Ranchero, but unfortunately, I'm going to have to sit with the biggest single trade loss of my trading career. And, there's no doubt that I am probably experiencing this loss because I was so determined to try to cross over the $1 million mark today. Today I was only $6,500 away from crossing the level, and so I was at $993,000 of total profits, and I was kind of frustrated that I didn't do as well as I could have today. I started the day with my internet being totally offline. I only had about 5 minutes to prepare for trading. Started at 9:25, preparing for trading. FCSC was on the watch list right here, as was MTFB. Both of these were on the watch list, and on MTFB, the bell rang, and I jumped into it. As you can see, it was grinding up pre-market here, and had a pre-market high of 334. The bell rings and it surges up, and I jumped in it pretty much right away at 337, 339, and then I added at 375. So I had basically 10,000 shares of this stock at an average price of 350. And we'll just look at the 10-second chart on this here. So let's just pull this back here. So on MTFB, I had 10,000 shares of it, and in my head I was like, well, I need to make $6,500 today, and gonna cross that big level. And so I'm in it right here. My average price is 350, and it comes down right here and stops me out. Got out break even, and then it rips up to $4. That would have been $5,000 of profit. So that, the combination of the internet and then getting kind of hit on this one, I was just like, dang it. That's super frustrating. So yeah, so I ended up getting back in and making $1,000 or whatever, but that's obviously not what I was going for. So that one didn't work out super well. This one hit a high of $4.20 and then gave back all the gains. FCSC, this one I also jumped into out of the gates, and I did okay on it. I was a little conservative at first. I wasn't totally sure it was going to work. I'm only on the 10-second chart here, really, because I was showing something to one of my students this afternoon. One of the things for me, like I'm pretty good at knowing when to just throw in the towel for the most part. I stepped up to the plate with one really big trade, got knocked out, and I didn't keep trading. I was like, all right, well, go switch gears. I've got to work with my students this afternoon and get my game face on for being a good teacher, and just kind of let the dust settle and come back to it later, which is why I'm coming back and doing the recap now. FCSC, you can see this move up here. Popped up to a high of 280, pulled back, popped up again to 280, pulled back, broke 280, came back to 260, then squeezes up to 328. So kind of some choppy moves there. I was able to make $1,500 on it, but nothing to be super excited about. Around 10 a.m. we had Solo that came up, started to make a little bit of a move, made $270 on that one, and then I took a trade on FUV and I lost $270. So before this trade, I was up $2,500 today, and I was like, all right, not a bad day, doing all right. Still have a little bit of ways to go to hit that big goal, but making some money, so whatever. And I was just watching the scanners. Now I'll say that I am probably this month having a higher level of FOMO than usual. I had a great month of February. Made about $75,000, $80,000 or so in February. Let's see, what did I finish February at? 78,000. So February was a great month. I wanted to, and I had a goal of crossing the $1 million mark in February, but I needed to make about $100,000, and I fell short of that goal. So here in March, I was so fixated on crossing this big milestone. First day of March, I lose $9,000. I spend the whole second week getting myself out of the hole. Got myself out of the hole, got myself up about $16,000, and then lost about $6,000 last Wednesday. Made back $7,000 on Thursday, profit on Friday, profit Monday, made $8,500 yesterday. So back to up $23,000 on the month, and then losing, a bunch today. I'm now going to be red on the month, which is really disappointing. So I think that for me, I'm kind of having a combination of FOMO, fear of missing out, frustration of missing out, regret of missing out, which is in part all from this big move on BPTH that I really didn't fully capitalize on. And then, of course, earlier in the week we had, yesterday we had VXRT. I was watching this stock at $2.30. I mean, I had it on watch at $2.30 right here. I had a 10,000 share order ready to go, and it ripped without me. And this is the really frustrating thing. So this stock yesterday goes from $2.30 all the way up to $4.40 without a single 1 minute pullback. I mean, this thing just went crazy. It just totally took off without me. And it had a micro pullback right here and a small micro pullback right here. And if we looked at the 10-second chart, you would see those little pullbacks, but they were so small. I hesitated on them, and next thing you know, it's up $2 a share, and I'm like, that would have been $20,000, and that would have gotten me over this big line, and would have been a great day. And I still made $8,500 yesterday, but it wasn't nearly as good as I hoped it would be. So today I was looking for the stock, kind of like this, that would start to take off and show some really good momentum. We didn't get it super well in FCSC. This one, as you can see here, it did take off, but It kind of struggled a little bit. It certainly wasn't as like straight parabolic as VXRT. MFT or MTFB, that one didn't do it. And so then we had ESTR hit the momentum scanners. And when this thing hit the momentum scanners back here at about 289, I initially was like, I didn't even look at it. And I didn't look at it because it didn't hit my low float scanner. So I didn't look at it. And then it hits a couple more times. And then I pulled up the chart, or I pulled up the level 2 and pulled up the chart and was like, wow, this stock is actually moving like really fast. I mean, this thing is taking off. So where was that? Is that right here? Yeah. So I guess I was looking at the 5 minute. I don't even know if I really looked at the 1 minute chart. I think I had the 5 minute chart really in focus. So I looked at the 5 minute chart and I was like, wow, this thing is taking off. And let me pull up my live trading recording of it. Let's see. I think it's right here. Yeah, so, all right. Okay, so I pull up ETSR. And so where is this? So as soon as I pull it up right here, I look at it and I kind of just, this is what I looked at. I looked at this right here. Oops, let's go out of full screen. I looked at this right here, the fact that it squeezed up from $1.58 to $3.66, it was moving fast. So I was like, wow, this thing has actually moved really fast. This was at like $2.50 and now it's at $3.66. I saw that it was about to get halted right here. And it was up 133% on the day. I didn't even look at the volume. I don't know why I didn't look at the volume. I just didn't. I looked at the chart. I saw it was moving, and immediately I was just tunnel vision fixated on the level 2, and I was looking for an opportunity to get in. And so at first I'm watching to get in, right here around 74, going into the halt. But I kind of hesitated for a second, and now halt level moves up here to 410, and I'm like, okay, that's better. Because I don't always like buying right into a halt like this. I prefer to be able to be up 10 or 15 cents before the halt goes through, just because sometimes we'll see stocks resume from a halt lower and then just fail. So anyway, so I'm getting in, and I'm like, okay, halt level is 410. This has room on the daily up to 534. I can tell you right now, what I didn't do was I didn't do my full due diligence of a stock to have home run potential. For a stock to have home run potential, and we talk about this in chapter 2 of the day trade course, we need to have a float of less than 10 million shares. Float's 18 million shares. Okay, well, we need to have news today. There's no news today. It needs to be a former runner, ideally. It's not a former runner. It needs to have a good daily chart. Well, it's okay. The 200 moving average is here at 534. It has room up to 534, so that might be okay. It needs to show fast rate of change. Okay, it's showing fast rate of change. It is showing that. But out of my 5-point criteria, it really only meets one of them. So, why did I bypass my kind of checklist? And the reason I did that was because I think I got sucked into it so quickly, seeing the potential opportunity, that I just sort of was like, oop, I got to just focus on this. It's moving fast. And yeah, I recognized that the float was higher, but I was like, it's fine because, well, hey, it's moving fast. So if it's moving, it's moving. What does it really matter? And next thing you know, I'm in the trade. So I jump in here with 9,000 shares at 98, thinking I'm going into the halt. So I've got my order there at 98. And, at this point, I'm like, okay, well, that's not what I wanted to see, right? And so let's just go back 1 second. So I didn't want to see, buying 9,000 shares and then have it drop to the 60s. However, we've seen that happen before. And you guys who have traded some of these big movers can certainly attest to the fact that sometimes they drop down to 59 like that, and then they rip back up, break through 410, and it's off to 450, $5, and it keeps going. So the stocks like this that move fast inherently have more risk. And I stepped up to the plate with big share size. The problem with this light volume is that it tells you not enough traders were watching it. Not enough traders were interested. And I just didn't look at it. I just was so fixated on how much it had already moved today, 130%, and the fact that it was about to get halted that I just jumped right into it. So, that's kind of what I was, what I was thinking on that. So anyways, I jump into it, it dips down, and I'm like, okay, it dipped down, but if this thing breaks over 410 and gets halted, I'm thinking it's going to go to 450. So I decide to step up to the plate and buy into the circuit breaker halt. So I go ahead and add in my IRA account. Usually when and at this point right now, it looks like it's about to get halted. It looks like it's going to get halted, and I ignored the first red flag. However, when you look at this 5-minute chart, this type of stock getting halted right here, I mean, this is parabolic potential. We've seen stocks like this get halted, resume at 450, and squeeze right up to $5. And for those of you guys that haven't been following me for a super long time, although this is the biggest red day, or it's the biggest loss I've ever had on one stock, I've also had days where I've made $40,000 in one day. So, I trade with big size, and that means I'm going to occasionally have some really big green days and some really big red days. And it goes both ways. And that's the hardest thing about being a trader, is that you can come in and you can, you can have a day where you give back a month of progress. Ultimately, if you're a beginner trader, you don't want to be taking the level of risk that I'm taking. You have to adjust your risk tolerance to your account size and where you're at in your career and everything else. But in any case, so now I'm in this thing and I'm thinking it's going to halt at 410. And at this point, this video could go either way. You know what I mean? Like, this video could be, guys, today I made $25,000. It opened at 440. It broke through 450. It hit 460, 470, 480. Got halted a second time at 490. And I'm up 25 grand. Right? You guys can all see that happening, because we've seen very similar setups that resolve in that way. This one's going to be the one that went the other way. So what happens here is it's about to get halted at 410, but I'm already in this thing. I took 9,000 shares in my main account. Now, realistically, if I wanted to just keep buying it, certainly I could just keep buying it, but I'm already in this thing pretty deep. Like, I'm not going to keep adding on it at 410. So I give up. I'm like, okay, I'm not adding more. Let's see what happens. It looks like it's going to get halted. And at this point, obviously, the fact that it's not getting halted is because there's not enough volume. There aren't enough other people that are seeing this on the scanners and are interested. The float's probably not low enough to trigger most people's scanners. There's not a news headline on it. The fact that it's only got 230,000 shares of volume by itself just represents the fact that people aren't looking at it. So that was a really big oversight on my part. And, the try to hit a home run, it's one thing if you're going to swing at a good pitch, but, I'm swinging at a ball that's basically already touching the ground. And, it's like, what the heck's the matter with me? How did I miss something so obvious? But sometimes you're at the World Series and the pressure is high, and you make a mistake, and that's kind of what happened. So, in hindsight, I shouldn't have taken that whole new position in the IRA. So now I'm down $4 grand in both accounts. I'm in this at $4 with 24,000 shares, and I'm like, all right, well, let's give it the 1 minute micro pullback. And realistically, we have seen 1 minute micro pullbacks that dropped down to 350 and then still end up working. So technically, right now, there's still a chance. There's still hope. So I'm watching it and I'm like, all right, well, let's see. And here you go. Look at that, right back to 4. Okay, so now the only problem is the halt level's at 441. So, it's not going to halt until 441. That's going to take a bit more to get that to that level. And the whole thing with a circuit breaker halt is that when a stock is halted on a circuit breaker, it's going to bring in a whole new round of traders who, are like, oh, there's some blood in the water. There's something going on over here. I'm going to jump onto it. And so that's why we've got our halt scanner, which is specifically telling us when stocks are halted because we get these opportunities. But a lot of this trade ended up going into the spot of hope, and that's not a good word as a day trader. So at this point, I'm holding through the 1 minute micro pullback, which also makes sense because I've got 24,000 shares. I can't just bail out of it, like hit the bid, without getting at least 20 cents of slippage. I didn't get a lot of slippage on my entry, but I'm knowing that I'll probably get slippage on my exit. So, so I'm in this now with both accounts, kind of flipping back and forth between them, looking at the loss, watching the 1 minute pullback, and I'm thinking, all right, first 1 minute candle to make a new high, right? That's the setup. That's what we're looking for. So we need to see it break back over $4. So it's like 69 on the ask, then it's 85, 83. So through this point, I'm pretty much like, okay, this might work. Now I'm gonna, I'm gonna be really, really grateful if it does, and it's probably gonna be a little bit of luck if it does. But let's just see what happens. This is a 1 minute micro pullback. It's a decent setup from that perspective, but I'm in it with way too much size at the wrong position. So what I should have done is I should have waited for the pullback. So why didn't I just wait for this pullback? I jumped into it right here. And then right here, instead of waiting for this pullback. Because then I wouldn't be in it yet, and I'd be looking to add it, for the break over $4, which would have been safe. The reason I didn't wait is because I was afraid. I was afraid if I waited that I would miss the move. So fear of missing out. And, it's that fear of missing out, that emotion runs high with a lot of traders when you've got a market where you've got some stocks that are being irrationally strong, where you're BPTH, VXRT. This can bring out emotions in traders, even traders who have been doing it for a really long time. So anyway, so here we go. So watching the pullback, and the pullback right now, it hasn't resolved yet. And when it breaks this level here of 360, watch what happens. It's going to break 360 and drop pretty much 40 cents, like that, down to I think 335 or 327. And again, this right here is probably the right place to sell based on that pattern failing. But now I'm emotionally tied to it. And there we go. There's 335. Now I'm going red on the day. 326, 331. Of course, it's 355 on the ask. Now we've got this forming as a topping tail. So pretty much everything on this setup is looking bad. However, the first pullback popped up to 270 and dropped back down to 2, which was a 70-cent pullback, which is a pretty steep pullback. And then the bull flag resolved, and it went to the high side. And we've also seen that type of thing happen. Works last month or the month before, a little bit of a lower volume stock. That the first move was, kind of a little bit choppy in that same way. Let's, take a look back at it. What day was this? It was on February, so it was right in here. Okay, so right in here. So look at how much this dropped. And this is kind of what I was remembering. Some of these stocks can be pretty crazy. This is a stock that went from $5 to $10, came back down to $7, and then we bought it at 7, or we bought it at 8 right here, and sold it on the move back to 11. This ended up being a $20,000 day. This was a great trade. And so then I'm like, well, if I was in this stock here, I'm still holding it coming right here. At that point, maybe I might as well just wait for the 5-minute pattern, you know, and rather than stop out on support only to watch it rip. So I was like, at this point, I'm pretty much, you know, I'm married to it, so I got to see it through. So, you know, I'm like, basically, like, I'm down so much that if I come back and see that this did go up to $5 or $6 in the afternoon, I'd just be so frustrated. So this trade is pretty much just going to be a big loss, you know, or it'll work, but I'm going to see it through. So at this point, I'm waiting for the 5-minute pattern to resolve. So we've got consolidation here happening on the 1-minute chart. I'm just holding it during 1-minute consolidation. And at this point, it's looking okay. You know, obviously, okay is a relative term in this context, but it's above the lows. And we're consolidating here sideways. It's a flag pattern. High day volume is on a green candle, which is good. It is a shooting star, but you know, let's see what it does. And so I'm like thinking I'm going to probably have my stop at $3, which is right around where the 9 moving average is probably going to come up to. So I'm still holding it. I end up switching to just look at a different stock. Not really because I was thinking about trading it. I was just sort of trying to distract myself. ESTR, we'll look at this back on this time frame. So basically, you know, at a certain point, it just is going too red for me to keep holding. And I'm just like, well, this is no longer bull flag pattern. This is just, it's selling off and it looks bad. So, you know, we go back to here. So this is where we broke the bottom of the support level right here. This is where I pretty much knew it was bad, and this is where I stopped out right here. And of course, stopping out with this type of share size, you know, I got slippage. And so, you know, you can see as I finally bail out right here, so it's at 281 that I decide to start selling. I'm down 18 grand. And I'm selling at 266, 260. So that's about 20 cents of slippage. Now I've got to sell in my main account. I'm down 11 grand. So I give it a second. I put out an order on the ask because I'm like, well, you know, maybe there'll be some pops back to the upside. So I put out the order on the ask here and try to sell. I think I get filled some at whatever, 84. There's an order to sell half, filling slowly. And, you know, that'll end up doing it. So selling the rest at 51. It ends up going down to 220 before it comes back up. So, you know, that's in one trade, $30,000 out the window. With a loss is the opportunity for a lesson. So down 18 grand in my IRA. Now, you know, my IRA this year started at $29,000. I've made over $150,000 this year before today. So it's been a good year. And but, you know, so, you know, it's keeping things in perspective. It's been a good year. Today's certainly a big red day. When we talk about trading, the majority of days where I'm doing midday recaps, they're somewhere in the middle. You know, it's neither my best day nor my worst day. It's just something in the middle. And if it's a red day where I'm down 4,000 or I'm down 8,000, you know, it's just a red day that's kind of in the middle. It's not my worst day of all time, but, you know, it's a bummer of a day. A day that I'm up 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand, it's not the best day of all time, but it's a decent green day. You know, and that's kind of what 99% of my days are. But today is going to be the worst red day of my entire challenge from when I started with $583. And it's the biggest single stock loss I've had. It's also probably like the only time I've had 24,000 shares of one stock in a really long time. And again, this speaks to why was I swinging so hard on a setup that wasn't A quality? So I obviously allowed emotions to cloud my judgment and reduce my quality filter because I was really fixated on, you know, finishing this big challenge, and I really wanted to do it today. I really thought I was going to do it today. And So that messed with me. That guy got that in my head. Probably like, Tom Brady at the Super Bowl, not this last year, but the year before, when he's like, this is going to be it. And, everyone was all hyping it up, and he was doing the time, what was it, Time with Tom, or Tom, what was that thing he did on like Facebook, that series of videos, like all leading up to the Super Bowl, which presumably was going to be, his like 5th or 6th Super Bowl win, Tom versus Time, right? That's it. And, it's like this big culmination. And then, he drops the ball on that catch, and it just starts slipping away, and it's gone. And you can't get in a time machine. All you can do is start over next season. And they did, and they came back, and then, they won the Super Bowl. So, for me, this whole challenge of taking a small account and turning it into $1 million, it's one thing to do it by yourself. It's another thing to do it in front of, thousands of people watching every single day. But I think either way, when you set a goal for yourself, it is easy to become fixated on that. And maybe the goal is, I need to make $2,000 this month so I can pay my rent, or so I can pay my mortgage, or so I can pay my car payment and, some student loan payments. And when you get really fixated on that, you start really applying that pressure to yourself, it can really cloud your judgment. It's one of those things people say when you're doing stuff, don't rush. When you rush, you make mistakes. And with trading, it's kind of like that. I'm trying to rush this thing. I'm trying to cross this big line. And as a result, I've taken some really high risk trades this month, and I've had a couple of really big strikeouts, which is super disappointing because we've also had a couple huge home runs this month, but those didn't happen to be the stocks that I decided to swing for the fences on. So it's just like the luck of the draw there, but it's the way it goes sometimes. So as of right now, I went from being up 150 grand or 155 grand on the year to up 126,000 on the year. I went from up about 23,000 on the month to down about 7,000 on the month. And I went from being only $6,000 or $7,000 away from crossing the $1 million line to about $38,000 away. So this is a step back, and like every trader knows, the only thing you can do is get back on the horse. The biggest thing to do after a big red day is to step back a little bit. Definitely doing sessions with Ted is a great idea. I'm going to reach out to him and see if he's available today or tomorrow to work with me, because that would certainly help me. But you guys who are Inner Circle students, you're able to work with Ted as well. Having that opportunity to just, kind of bring it together, and I've been putting a lot of pressure on myself, for sure, to try to cross this line. I've been, I guess just really eager to do it. I've been working on this thing for, 2 years and 3 or 4 months. It's been a huge endeavor. It's been a marathon, and I see the finish line, and it's almost like I dove to cross the finish line, and I'm just laying on the ground still 10 feet short. I took the dive a little too early. So, I got to step back and kind of reevaluate. I will not make back 30 grand in one day. That's not going to happen. I mean, I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I am not going to set that as my intention. Setting that as the intention is a quick way to lose another 10 or 15 grand. So not setting that intention at all. At this point, revised goal for the month of March is just to try to be green. This would be my first red month in over a year if I do close red. I really don't want to close red. I prefer to have a green month, as anyone would. So that means I've got to make about $7,000 over the next 2, 4, 6, 7 days of trading. So $1,000 a day. Despite today's red day, I went from averaging $3,000 a day here to averaging $2,500 per day in 2019. So, my daily average is still good. I can still, I'm still on track for $500,000 year. That's all still fine. I just need, for the next 2 days, just to focus on being green, to trade with a little less size. And, one of the things that I really encourage you guys to do if you're feeling yourself getting a little impulsive and taking some trades without doing, your full analysis, which is kind of what I did here today, is, potentially popping one of these hotkeys off your orders. So the hotkey that I've got on here, keyboard, the one button is to buy 3,000 shares. So I'm going to unmap that one. That one I'm not using. And I'm going to pop this one off. Shift 1. I'm going to take it off the keyboard, and I'll take off the short 3,000 also. I want to take trades tomorrow where I have to take the time to write VXRT, and I've got to take the time to write the price, and I've got to take time to write the shares. And my hope is that by doing all of that, it slows me down a little bit. I'm also going to set a max share size tomorrow of 9,000 shares, which is a little big. I might want to go to 6,000, but I think my rule of thumb for tomorrow is that if I take 9,000, it wouldn't be all at once. It would be taking 6,000 and then doubling or adding up to 9,000 if I continue to see momentum. This account is getting now kind of close to the PDT level. It's going to be at 32,000 tomorrow. But ultimately, see, this is funny. The only reason I was trading in this account today is because this morning my internet wasn't working, and I was so late to the bell that I started trading without even realizing I was in my main account and I wasn't in my IRA account over here. So, I just was like so kind of scrambled this morning that I made a bit of a mistake there as well. And I wasn't able to see and have the presence of mind to be aware that I was in that kind of higher emotional state. So, one of the things that was really important to me when I started this $583 challenge was that I was fully transparent about this journey, that there would be ups and there would be downs. And I got off to an amazing start in the first 45 days, making $100,000. But through this challenge, which has been going on for the last 2 years, I've definitely had some difficult days where I certainly didn't feel like doing a midday recap, where I was, really just disappointed and frustrated with myself. I've had a couple of back-to-back red days. I think I had like 3 red days in a row at one point. Just a week where I had 4 red days out of 5 trading days. So, I've had some tough days, but through all of it, I've taken $583 and turned it into $960,000 as of right now. And I will cross over the $1 million mark. That's really, it's not a matter of if, it's just when it's going to happen. Thought it was going to be in February, thought it would be in March. Now we're looking at April, and that's fine. At the end of the day, it's just it's really an imaginary line that doesn't mean much of anything. I mean, it's a nice achievement, but it's not so big of a deal that it's worth making these kind of crazy moves over. It's not like I need to jump for my survival. It's just a fun challenge that I set out for myself that I'm getting a little too fixated on. So this is an opportunity for me to step back, to focus. In terms of positioning, I definitely bought this into a squeeze, and this is the hardest thing with the market, is that I broke my rules here, and of course I got punished for it. Yesterday I followed the rule of not chasing on VXRT, and I felt like I also got punished for it. Sometimes you get punished for following the rules. I didn't chase this, and it just went straight up, and I was watching it right here, and I didn't chase it. I ended up finally getting into it, but I followed the rules and I felt like I got punished. And then today I broke the rules and I got punished. And of course, sometimes you'll break the rules and you'll get rewarded. And that's one of the things that's really tough in the market, is that you can get positive reinforcement for negative behaviors and then negative reinforcement for positive behaviors. So at the end of the day, it's like, you just have to be super disciplined and know that over the long haul, over the long period of time of years, that following rules pays off. Short term, you can have days like yesterday where you follow the rules and you miss a huge opportunity, or days like today where you break a rule and maybe you make money, or you break a rule and you lose money. I mean, you just got to have that discipline. And, it's something that for me, whenever the emotions start to run higher, that emotional brain is not a logical brain. That emotional brain is not very intelligent. It's so based on emotion that it throws logic out the window. For instance, when I start having like a panic attack, about being in an airplane, that's a very emotional part of me that's coming out. That part of my brain is not using its intelligence. It's not thinking about, listen, man, like statistically, the odds of this plane going down are like extremely low. You had much higher risk driving through rush hour traffic in New York City to JFK than you have having this plane go out of the sky. But, the emotional brain throws all that logic out the window and just spirals. And, so I'm very aware of how that aspect of myself can get a little out of hand at times. And it comes out in different areas, sometimes in trading, sometimes at 30,000 feet. And, it can be a little bit of a struggle, but that's an opportunity to exercise mindfulness and discipline, and the things that we talk about with meditation and with a daily exercise routine and with eating healthy. Those things all help you, maintain composure during times that are stressful. And sometimes trading can be stressful. So this is the best job in the world, no doubt about it. There's nothing else I'd rather be doing. Becoming a multimillionaire. Taking this small account, $583, turning it into $1 million, working with you guys, having one-on-one sessions with students this afternoon. I love doing this. But, and I think one of the reasons I love it is that it does challenge me. And it forces me to continue to try to be better. Last year, was a good year at $500,000 of profit, and I would love for this year to be better. In my career, I haven't had a year where I made less than the year before, except for my very first year. My second year, I lost more than I made. So the first year was like down and then further down, and then it was back up. But since then, since my second year, I've never had a year where I made less, which is pretty cool, to be doing this for, getting close to a decade, and to always be doing a little bit better. And to know that there's always opportunity to do better, and to see that there are people out there, who do make six figures a day, which is pretty impressive. And, doesn't necessarily mean that their strategy is a good fit for you, or, sometimes when you see people that are trading with multi-million-dollar accounts, it's kind of like, it's not even relatable, it's even for me, it's like, I would never trade with that size. I would never feel okay holding an open position of $750,000 being up or down 20 grand, like it's like no big deal. Even if I could afford it, and maybe I can, it's, to me emotionally, I couldn't do it. So, with this challenge, I usually keep my account pretty small. It's pretty relatable to what you guys are going through. And it's today definitely the biggest red day that we've seen during the time that I've been doing these daily YouTube videos, but some good lessons in it for sure. And I hope that you guys really get something out of it, and that you guys get at least $30,000 out of it, because that's what it costs to get this lesson. So down 10 grand in my main account, down 18 grand in the IRA, 30,000 in the red. But back at it tomorrow, back on the saddle, and just try to have a green day, try to make a little money, try to finish the day, finish the week with a couple green trades, and just try to get myself to green on the month of March. If I can have a green month, this will be my, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13th consecutive green month. 14th, no, it's got to be more than that. No, well, yeah, my last red month was February of last year, so it'll be my 13th consecutive green month. So adjust expectations, and we're just going to go with that new goal, green on the month, even if it's only by $1,000. So I'll be back at it first thing tomorrow morning. We'll do our pre-market analysis as long as the internet is running well, and we'll try to have a couple green trades and just get back to it. I'm going to upload the live trading recap over to the. I'm going to upload the live trade up to Live Trading Archives. Yesterday's $8,500 winner is also on the Live Trading Archives, so you guys can go watch those, and those of you guys that are Warrior Pro students. And from these trades, there's a lot of opportunity to learn. So study up and just keep trying to improve your strategy. Be disciplined. That's the name of the game. All right, everyone. So enjoy the rest of the day, and I will see you all first thing tomorrow morning. If you're still watching, you must have really enjoyed that video. So why not subscribe and get email alerts anytime I upload new content? Remember, when you subscribe, you become a member of the Warrior Trading family.